10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Manchester
1,
United have
0.
reached the promised land.
Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? Sam here, live on United People's TV. It's Monday. It's the beginning of a new week, and I'm not sure about you, but my weekend didn't get... Actually, no, I do know about you. Your weekend didn't get ruined by Manchester United. My weekend didn't get ruined by Manchester United because we weren't in action. Anyway, how were all of your weekends? I hope you had a great time. I had a decent weekend. And there's plenty of news to talk about this morning, as is always the case, really, with Manchester United. But right now, it might be an international break, and technically international breaks are periods where we all normally are just begging for the days to go away, so Manchester United are back in action. It's kind of not really the case right now, but it's all about our search for a new manager. Erik Ten Hag, Mauricio Pochettino. We know that they are the two names on that list, and we are going to be bringing you the latest news here on United People's TV. So make sure you get involved in the comments, as you always do. I love how interactive the shows are. I'm sure you do too. So make sure you get involved in the comments. Let me see how you're going down here. Jorganesh, nice to see you down there, buddy. Who else we got? Matt Frost, good morning to you, my friend. I hope your weekend was good. Who else we got? They've got Gary Kyle, good morning. Paula, we've got Yash. Nice to see you there, sir. What are the members we got down here? Let's have a look. Josh, nice to see you this morning, buddy. Hey, how are you all doing? Bruce, nice to see you there. Bruce, great name. And good morning to, and not good morning to you, Matt, all the way from Australia. And Ian as well. Hey, plenty of you in the comments, as always, plenty of regular faces and hopefully some new faces as well. Let's get this community growing. And we're going to be speaking about Gary Neville, by the way, who retweeted one of our videos at the weekend. It was good, and I'm going to be speaking about that as we go through the show. But let's head straight into the news, okay? And let's talk about it. Because Manchester United want to get a deal done for our new manager by the end of March, right? That is what we're hearing, the latest from David Ornstein on this situation. And you know, when it comes to sources here on United People's TV, there are certain sources and journalists that I will listen to with a bit more notice. You know, I'll take more notice of what they say. David Ornstein is one of those said journalists. He said Manchester United want to wrap up the managerial process in the coming weeks, ideally by the end of March. United is speeding up the process, meeting candidates and whittling down the shortlist. United hope to have a chosen candidate in place as soon as possible. ASAP Rocky, that's what we want. Good morning to you, David. First time watching. Make sure you subscribe, buddy. Lovely to have you on board. But yeah, according to our good friend, according to a decent journalist, David Ornstein, he's saying that Manchester United want to get this done by the end of March. That's 10 days' time. Today is the 21st of March. I've spoken about this with you a few times last week, and I was like, look, Manchester United, we can't afford to sort of let this drag out. You know, if we're looking at Manchester United over the last, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, letting things drag out and take longer than they should take is basically the new Manchester United philosophy. It's the new Manchester United way. We always take longer to do things. We can't really afford to do that with this new manager search. Everything next season, of course, hinges on who our manager is. Every transfer, every player we're linked with, everything. Ralph Rangnick's future, it's all linked to who our new manager is going to be. And at this particular moment in time, though, we still don't know whether that's going to be Ten Hag or Poch. Now, what's your opinion on that? Do you think by this point we should all be sitting here kind of going, we know it's going to be Ten Hag or we know it's going to be Poch? Because I'll be honest, I'm still pure 50. I'm not 50-50 on who I would want it to be. I want it to be Erik Ten Hag. But I'm definitely 50-50 on who it will be. I don't really know. I want to know what you think about that in the comments. Viking Red, good to see you there this morning. Subbing, nice to see you there, man. Welcome to the family. Gene, you're saying, not going to lie, Sam, I'm quite nervous in the lead up to the announcement for either Poch or Ten Hag. This decision will be crucial in how next season pans out. Gene, I would agree and disagree with your comment there. I'm nervous, but this decision is far, 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 far bigger than just next season. This decision, and maybe I'm just like exaggerating and giving like hyperbole to the situation, but this one feels if we get this decision right, I think within 2 or 3 years' time, under whether that's Ten Hag, whether that's Poch, I think it should be Poch. I think that this club could be in a very, very different place in terms of where we are now. We're kind of the butt of the joke, aren't we? Manchester United fallen from grace, nowhere really any closer to. I say, look, we're 20 points off City. It's the middle of March, and our season is completely over. Out of the FA Cup, out of the League Cup, obviously done already, and the Champions League. So we're the butt of the jokes. Get this appointment right, and that can all change within the space of, I reckon, 2 seasons. And that's what I think about Ten Hag. Now, in terms of that 50-50, as I explained there, I'm not sure where you stand on this situation, whether you think that there's, I don't know, you're like 75-25 towards Poch or 75-25 towards Ten Hag. I don't really know. And if we're looking at anything else that David Ornstein said in that situation, he said this. He said, Ten Hag, he's got admirers in Manchester United's hierarchy. I'll tell you who one of those definitely will be, in my opinion. That's Ralph Rangnick. I think Ralph will be pushing the Ten Hag train, if you want to call it that. We all know that, I mean, we've spoken about this plenty of times, haven't we, on United People's TV, that Manchester United just need to go to the set of drawers in the office, just dust off the Pochettino 2016 and 2019 folders and sort of restart that conversation. Whereas Ten Hag is somebody who right now, this summer, is probably going to be the manager that clubs will go for. If we're looking at, let me know in the comments. That'd be an interesting one. If you were to list managers down that will be available this summer, Ten Hag's going to be available this summer. Pochettino will be available this summer. But where do you rank them all? Like in terms of most wanted, say if Real Madrid are going to be in the market for a manager, and given that they got pumped last night by Xavi and Barcelona 4-0 in the Clasico, I mean, I think we all knew they would be looking for a new manager. Got knocked. I don't know. Did they knock out the Champions League? Yeah, they got knocked out. No, they're playing Chelsea. Is it Chelsea? Yeah, they're playing Chelsea. They're not knocked out the Champions League. No, of course they're not. They had the turnaround against PSG. Who do you think will be the most wanted manager? Let me go down here. Yoga. I'm going to call you Yoga. Why not? Ten Hag and Tuchel, you would say number 1 and number 2. Is Tuchel going to be available? I'm not sure. Salim, you're saying, Sam, the French press are all saying that Poch will stay. I did see that at the weekend. I saw it was from L'Equipe in France, and they were saying that, which is a Parisian newspaper, by the way, so they should know, right? They were saying that Pochettino was kind of having discussions with PSG and PSG's board about aligning things so next season things can go forward. I'd be very, very surprised if Poch stays. I really, really will. Matt, you're saying 50-50. I'm confused by the whole ordeal. The way we go around things, don't say Steve Bruce. I mean, you're not probably wrong, are you? Yash, you're saying Ten Hag and then Lopetegui, Enrique even after January, and Hasenhüttl over Poch. Hasenhüttl, we haven't really spoken about him too much here on United People's TV. We've had like fleeting conversations about him. There's no doubt, obviously, we know where he's schooled. He's schooled by Ralph Rangnick, of course, and he's done a pretty damn decent job at Southampton, especially considering they sort of the recoveries from the 9-0 smashing that we gave them. Was it Leicester they lost 9-1 to as well? They've had some right pumpings. Chris, I'm going to disagree with this comment massively. And Antonio Conte, no, he's not. At Chelsea, he was that sort of manager, and it worked at Chelsea because that's the Chelsea way. And there's very little that works at Chelsea that would work elsewhere in terms of their managers and the managerial appointments they've done, and everything they did under Abramovich would have only worked at Chelsea under Abramovich. Nick, you think we should be going after Poch? Well, I'm not saying you're on your own in that. You're not on your own when you're saying that. Absolutely not. Poch has got plenty of admirers. And I'll tell you what I'll be doing this week, ladies and gents. I think I've spoken to you about this before. Previously, I did those videos on sort of how Ralph Rangnick could revolutionize Manchester United. My sort of videos on the coaching philosophies and principles of Rangnick as a manager. And I did one on Brendan Rodgers and I did one on Zinedine Zidane. This week, today, hopefully, it's going to be quite see how much I can get done. I'm going to try and get the video done and get it out today on Ten Hag. These videos take a lot longer to do, but I like doing them. And I think everybody, it's the sort of conversation we're all having now. Sort of, we want to know more about the philosophies of Pochettino and the principles of them and how they can sort of adapt to Manchester United. So I'm going to be doing those 2 videos this week. One today, hopefully on Ten Hag, hopefully one on Wednesday on Pochettino. Because if David Ornstein is correct, we're going to be getting an announcement within the next 10 days on who it's going to be. Therefore, we need those videos on Poch and Ten Hag. I'll do that. Michael, nice to see you there this morning. Welcome to the gang. Let me know where you're watching from, my friend. I'll try and give you a shout out. Michael, different Michael. You're saying Ten Hag is a man to build us back to where we want to be. Well, you kind of know where I stand on that. And Ali, I stand with you as well. Ten Hag for you. Ten Hag for you, Michael, is Ten Hag for me as well. I really want to have him there. And we got Mwanje watching from Japan. Greetings from Japan. I'd love to go to Japan. I wouldn't just go for the blossom. I'd love to visit Japan. It seems like an incredible culture. And I like traveling. And it's been a long time since I traveled properly. I mean, technically, Vegas is traveling though. So let's be honest. That's a bit of a lie. Ten Hag, and he can bring Anthony with him. Well, I'll tell you what happened this weekend. I'm sure you all saw the result. But Ajax coming from I think they were 2-1 down in the 70th-ish minute against Feyenoord at home. A huge game in their push for the title this year, considering I think PSV are sitting 1 point behind them. And Anthony came up with a late winner in the Amsterdam Arena. Ajax won 3-2. And then if you're looking at a polar opposite result, well, PSG got absolutely pumped by Monaco. Away from home, Monaco 3-0 winners against PSG. And now if you're looking at PSG's form, wow, they really have not been doing well at the moment. 4 defeats in 6 out of the League Cup, out of the Champions League. Their season is over by mid-March, but their season being over by mid-March includes them winning the league. When I say it's over, they're about to win the league, so the season's not over. But in terms of a competition, they've just basically got to see the season out. That's all they've got to do. And yeah, it's all kind of falling apart for PSG, which, let's be honest, no one's surprised at. Because PSG, the only thing they care about every season is the Champions League. If they don't win the Champions League, it's considered a failure of a season. Therefore, it will be considered. Even I think that's harsh on Poch, because he lost the league to, was it Lille? I think when he came in and replaced Tuchel halfway through the season. I think this is his first full season there. But oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Indeed. David, what are you saying here? Sam, your thoughts on Neville suggesting we go for Simeone? Despite Gary not thinking Conte is the right fit, it seems a bit of an odd suggestion. David, I agree with Gary Neville on lots of things. I do not agree with Gary Neville on Diego Simeone. First and foremost, don't waste your time going after him. He's not leaving Atletico Madrid. Simple as that. You can talk about that. Like, we could speak all day and night about how Mbappe is a free transfer. I could do a video on how he could be an incredible signing for Manchester United. Look how he would fit into our system. We'd sign with Mbappe's not coming to United. So why am I going to waste my time talking about it? The only one I kind of changed it on a little bit was Thomas Tuchel, because there was so much talk about it that I couldn't ignore it anymore. But I would put Diego Simeone down in that category as well. Diego Simeone, I think he's like the second highest paid manager in the world, actually, second or third. High up there anyway. And I don't think there's any chance of Simeone coming. And even if there was, I personally still wouldn't want him. I know that we need a bit of a disciplinarian at Manchester United, but we had the disciplinarian in Jose Mourinho. And it didn't really work, did it? We need someone who's got the balance, someone who has a disciplinarian side to him, but someone who's also commands respect from the players. And I think Poch and Ten Hag fall into those categories. I've said this to you before as well. There really are. If you're looking at, if you were to just do a checklist next to Ten Hag and Poch's name, both of them tick so many boxes, and it really does come down to a bit of a matter of opinion as to which would be the right choice for Manchester United. No one's right or wrong on that. That's what opinions are, right? But my opinion is that it should be Ten Hag based on the end of that. Josh, you're saying, can I just say I love that picture of Rude? I need one. Big up Stan Chow. What I should do really is try and get a discount code for United People's TV from Stan Chow, and I can pass that on to you. Love his work, a Manchester-based artist. And this week we've gone for Rude and we've gone for Black Erik. Well, black shirt Erik anyway. What are we going down here? Tavish, what are you saying? You're saying, do you think that we are going to spend big this summer? My gut instinct is telling me yes and no. Yes, we're going to finish outside the top 4. We know what happens when we finish outside the top 4. And maybe, let's be devil's advocate. Maybe finishing outside the top 4 is the perfect scenario for United this year, because it will force the Glazers to spend, and therefore it will force the Glazers to back our manager, hopefully Erik Ten Hag, with a summer of rebuild. Whereas if we finish inside the top 4, maybe they will be reluctant to spend big for the new manager, because every new manager who comes in to any football club, they have to get a process of renewal, getting rid of players that don't really suit their style and system, bringing new players that bring it in. That's why we thought that Haidara was going to come into Manchester United maybe in January to help Ralph Rangnick, but the club didn't back him at that point. Got Nareg watching from Beirut in Lebanon. I'll see you there this morning, my friend. Lots of you talking about Poch in the comments. Poch, as I said, that is not a good record. 4 defeats in 6 for PSG. Does that include the Champions League? Or was that since the Champions League? I think that does include the Champions League. And you're saying, I'm sure Ten Hag is going to be asking for certain guarantees in terms of backroom staff and transfers. I'm not sure Poch would have the same demands. That might have a big influence. I don't particularly think that would have too much of an influence, Ant, because I think it shouldn't reach that point. What am I making here? Nah, actually, no, you might be right. Ten Hag, as far as I know, wouldn't be bringing like a severe amount of back staff. I think both of them would probably become an assistant and maybe +1. So I think it's going to be quite similar between the two. Anthony is saying, if we don't have Champions League, we have to spend big to attract any players. Yes and no, but when you think about this, and this is something that we have to do properly. Shane, big up to you, my friend. Thank you very much for the love. But what you're saying there, Anthony, right? We shouldn't be going specifically after those players who are just focused purely on Champions League football. I'm talking about your Erling Haalands. There's no chance that any club signs him this summer unless they've got Champions League football. And that's why Manchester United have no chance against him. He's going to go City, end of story. But we should be looking out for the signings that are like between 30 and 50 million, not your 75 to 100 million. We need to bolster the squad with those players who aren't quite at the level where they're the talk of the town. They're not the cream of the crop yet, but they're in the middle. And we know that if we bring them in and they go and they shine and they improve, then in a year or two, they will be cream of the crop. But they would have done that at Manchester United. It's been a bit of a difference in our transfer philosophy, let's be honest, right? Over the last 5 to 8 years, because of Ed Woodward, we just went big. We went big names. It's like being a football manager. You got a big budget. You just go in there. You. Even if they didn't really fit what we needed, that's all it was. But Nathan, look, and this really does hurt me to highlight this comment. Of course it does. But you cannot ignore everything well that Liverpool have done over the last 5, 6, 7 years now. From rebuilding their stadium, from all the signings they made. Diogo Jota and Sadio Mane, 2 perfect examples. 2 players signed from Wolves and signed from Southampton that people would have looked at and gone, I mean, they're all right. What have they become? Absolutely top-level world-class players at Liverpool because they fit the system, they fit what they needed, and they were signed for those reasons rather than simply being a big name. And I remember the Sadio Mane stories at the time. Remember, we had Louis van Gaal as manager. We were linked with Sadio Mane, and so many United fans were like, we turned their nose up at Sadio Mane saying, why are we going to sign a winger from Southampton? And that was the mentality that we actually operated with in the transfer market. We can't do that this year. Christopher and Nkunku. Nkunku? I think it's Nkunku, actually. We definitely should be looking at him from Leipzig. And he's probably actually your cream of the crop. He's more towards the top. But there definitely will be players in this market. And that's why we paid for a whole scouting department, man. What's the point in having a scouting department that you spend millions on if they just come back to you and say, we should sign Erling Haaland? My mum could tell me to sign Erling Haaland. She doesn't know who he is. That's what a scouting department does. They're supposed to identify players who might not be on the sort of above the surface and on the radar in that sense, but that's what they're scouts for. That's what they should be doing their jobs for, to identify these players. That's what I think so anyway. Mane was good at Southampton too. Of course he was good at Southampton, but it's not how we've operated in the market, is it? Absolutely not. What are the things we've got to talk about here? Keep firing in your comments, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Let me go down here and see what you're saying. Ken, you're saying Ten Hag is the right man. We have done this mistake 10 years by not wanting to give the job to Pep. We need not repeat it. I'll tell you what, yeah, it's really, and it really does scare me. I've said this before as well. I think if we don't sign Ten Hag, we're just going to sit here and watch from the sidelines another manager become a world-class, elite-level manager. I mean, we just have to watch it. A bit like, I mean, Guardiola, when he signed to City, was already a top-level manager. Jurgen Klopp was already pretty top, but he sort of had that stigma of failure because he lost, 2 finals before he went there. And obviously, he's gone on to be very successful at Liverpool. We need to be watching that happen inside our club now, rather than watching these managers be successful elsewhere. Puns, you sent in a super chat, my friend, but there's nothing there. So you need to let me know in another comment, and I'll try and read it out for you. Camilo, have you heard of any specific approach from United's board to hire Ten Hag or Poch? At this particular time, no. It's all just, nothing's gone further than this, Camilo. Nothing's gone further than the idea that Manchester United are still holding these conversations. But a key point of it here is this. United are speeding up the process. That is the focus of this week. And that's why hopefully things will really start to change. Because I said to you, look, there's no point Manchester United, no dilly-dallying, right? There's no point. Get it done, get it over the line. And Manchester United are in a beautiful position, a privileged position in this sense, in that we've got an interim manager. There's no offending Ralph Rangnick by having these conversations openly, right? I have to take advantage of that. Lots and lots of you in the comments here. Let's highlight these ones. Talking about Tchouaméni's performance for Monaco. I'll be honest, I didn't watch it, so I don't know. But maybe I'll watch the highlights, extended highlights, see how Tchouaméni gets on. We all know that Aurelien Tchouaméni is a central midfielder. If we were looking at dream signings, he'd probably be up there, and it's like a conversation and debate between Tchouaméni and Declan Rice, isn't it? But we need a powerful central midfielder like that. We all know that. Matthew Tanner, you're saying, whoever we get, we better get the right manager. Is it getting beyond a joke and turning us into one? I would say we're past that point, Matthew. I think we are a joke. We're already the butt of all the jokes. And that is the case. Let's see what we're and you're saying, I'll say it again, if Mitchell joins, then I'm positive that we will be signing Pochettino. Now, let me go down here and let me pull this one up for you, ladies and gents, before we move on to the next point, which I was going to speak about Paul Mitchell in a bit, but reports from France this weekend suggesting that Paul Mitchell is going to leave AS Monaco. Now, who is Paul Mitchell? Let's have a quick run through of that for you. Paul Mitchell is AS Monaco's sporting director. All right. He's their sporting director, and he has worked previously both at Spurs and at Southampton with none other than Mauricio Pochettino. And he was pictured, as you can see him there, sitting alongside Ralph Rangnick. He was pictured, I think was it like under 21s game, under 23s game? Anyway, he was pictured at Old Trafford with Ralph Rangnick, and he got tongues a wagging. All right. Let's see what goes on, because reports from France are suggesting that Paul Mitchell is going to be leaving AS Monaco. And if he does leave Monaco, what does that mean for Manchester United? Does that mean we bring him in as a sporting director? Does that mean that all of a sudden Manchester United might have Ralph Rangnick and Paul Mitchell working on the sporting department? I mean, that's almost dreamy. Almost dreamy. And that was an under-21s game, says Matt. Yeah, you're right in the comments. I knew I was right. I said under-23s. Close enough. I don't think that Paul Mitchell coming in would be a guarantee of Poch coming in, but it would certainly add more momentum to the idea that the club is preparing for it, because Paul Mitchell in his own right is an excellent man at what he does. He doesn't need Pochettino to succeed at what he does. I mean, look, he's done that at Monaco, and he did that without Poch. I don't think him coming in guarantees it's going to be Poch at all, but it would certainly give more credence to it. But taken a completely separately, kind of, in my opinion, to the whole conversation between Poch and Ten Hag, I'd love us to go and get Paul Mitchell in. The sporting side of Manchester United's structure, the football side of our structure, away from Richard Arnold, away from the commercial side, away from those operations, we could do with having more than one head there that we can rely on. That's Ralph Rangnick not if he goes into that consultancy. He will go into that consultancy role. But not just him, maybe Ralph Rangnick and Paul Mitchell. That would genuinely be Manchester United modernising. And that excites me. That really does excite me. Puns, my friend, you sent another one in my. Where I think when you send a super chat in, I think you've got to type it in at the same time. I think so. I apologize for that, but I'll try and keep an eye out down here. Don't send another super chat in. Just send in your comments and I'll read a few of them out, man, my friend. All right. Thank you very much for super chat. So Niels is saying Poch worked with Mitchell before. Hopefully Mitchell won't play a role in who gets an. Mitchell will not play any sort of role. He won't play any sort of role in who our next manager is. This is be down to. I mean, I've stood by this before. I hope that man right there. I hope he is the leading voice in who our next manager is going to be. It shouldn't be Richard Arnold, because if it's Richard Arnold, then it's just going to be Pochettino. It shouldn't be the Glazers, because if it is, it's just going to be Pochettino. It needs to be the forward-thinking football mindset of somebody who knows the game. And Ralph Rangnick now knows this squad, right? And again, when it comes to choosing our next manager, there really, really will be nobody better placed than Ralph Rangnick in knowing what this squad needs. He's worked with this squad. He's worked with these players. He has an inner story to tell about what this squad exactly needs. So he will know more than anybody whether Pochettino or Ten Hag is more suited to this United squad. And therefore, Rangnick should have the strongest voice in deciding who that should be. That's why I think, anyway. Puns, you spent super chats, didn't go through. I said I'm trying to keep an eye out for your name now, so just send in some regular comments, buddy, and I'll read a couple of them out. What we're going down here. Tumza, you're feeling a bit strong this morning. We don't want Pochettino. He's a failure. Got Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe, but still failing at PSG. Hey, I'd love to see any manager succeed at PSG. Actually, no. Who am I kidding? Who am I kidding? I don't want any managers to succeed at PSG. But so far, we've not seen any. Puns, there you go. I think we should buy diamonds in the rough. And also players have a good attitude, says Puns. I'm sick of overpaid players with a God complex. I mean, that's exactly the issue. I mean, that's a bit wrong. It's not exactly the issue. But Manchester United need to find those diamonds in the rough. I think we've seen with our academy recruitment in the last couple of years, I'll bring in a story actually now. I was going to mention later, but I'll mention it now. We've been very good. Our academy signings, from Hannibal Mejbri to Zidane Iqbal, there's been a lot of players that Manchester United have brought in between the ages of 15 and 17 who've been fantastic, real talents, proper diamonds in terms of that category. There haven't been many, I don't think, signings that we've made in the region of like 15 to 30 million pounds who have gone on to become 40 to 50 to 60 to 70 million pound players at Manchester United. I think we massively underpaid for Bruno Fernandes. It was still a big signing, but Bruno Fernandes might be one you can throw in that category. United need to sign players, right? You need to sign players not just at the very top. As I said, those easy ones that even Ed Woodward could probably say on the scouting list. It has to be those players that are identified that are just a little bit lower, but you know, and you've got the confidence that given the opportunity at Manchester United, their potential would flourish. See down here in the comments. Hey, look, right? Let me read a bit more. Before I move on, I'll mention it now. I was going to mention it towards the end of the show, but we have signed another young player, and that is Toby Collier, signed from Brighton. Welcome to Manchester United, my friend. 18-year-old midfielder, I think he is. Yeah, he is. Midfielder. Fabrizio Romano confirmed it. There's him signing the deal, signing the contract. So welcome to Manchester United for Toby. I'll be interested to see how he gets on in Manchester United under 18s and under 23 team. Chris Martin, I see you this morning, buddy, saying the media hyped the Mitchell Poch link, but I forgot that Ralph worked with him at Leipzig. Ralph obviously trusts him, so it doesn't mean Poch is inbound. Chris, that's what I tend to agree with you there, my friend. I tend to agree that it doesn't confirm or guarantee anything. I don't think anything at this point confirms or guarantees anything with either Ten Hag or Poch. And the only thing that we know, it's not even as facts, but this is the story. I hope that we're going to see some real movement this week. I mean, I always go live here at 9:30 every single morning, so we have a chat. But I also will go live here on United People's TV when the stories break. When big news breaks, I'll be here on United People's TV. So hopefully we can have one of those sort of videos this week, because I think we need one with a new manager. Alan, you know what I think about Ruben Neves? I would say if Manchester United had signed Ruben Neves, even the summer just gone, it would have been a case that we would have underpaid for Ruben Neves. We go and get Ruben Neves now. We're paying absolutely top dollar for him. And we've missed the opportunity to sign a player easily inside the Premier League who will be worth more in 12 months' time. That's what I think anyway. Before I do move on, I would say, please, ladies and gents, if you are watching, welcome to United People's TV. Happy Monday morning and all that. I hope that United didn't ruin your weekend, just as they didn't ruin mine. And they didn't, because they didn't play. Lovely. But if you would consider dropping a like on the video, it does help the channel. Seriously, it only takes 1 second, and it will show YouTube that some people actually do enjoy the content. Jerry, you're saying, what about Julian Lopetegui? He was also linked. What's my say? Not for me. I think he's just a bit of he's just one of those like Midland managers. You can probably put him in a similar category to Brendan Rodgers. Maybe slightly unfair on Julian Lopetegui, given the fact that Leicester are like 30, 40 points off City so far in the league. They're mid-table, but not for me. I think he's a good manager. Did well at Sevilla. Always found the whole situation strange with him, with Real Madrid and Spain, and sort of walking away from it, then getting sacked from Real Madrid. Wasn't very good for him. Wasn't very good. Rehab saying it's a great live stream. Yeah, good morning to you. But look, this is an exciting one, right? I did a video on Friday. Did a video on the Glazers. You know what my relationship. I fucking hate the Glazers. I always will hate the Glazers until they don't own Manchester United, and I will always constantly do content on this channel to keep pushing that. But I did a video on Friday, and none other than the man himself. That was Gary Neville. Retweeted the video. First time I've seen him do one of those, and it was cool. It's good to see Gary Neville engaging with the channel. And let me try and find a tweet. I should have probably pulled it up here. I'm now going to try my hardest to get Gary Neville on here for an interview. All right. So let me try and find the tweet here, and I'll send it to you now. And what I'd ask you to do is to head over to this tweet and retweet it for me. Here we go. There's a tweet. Oh, geez. Don't save the link. That's what happens when you do stuff live. I should have prepared this link already, but I didn't. There we go. We've got it now. Boom. Right. Here's the link to the tweet. Okay. So if you would go to that tweet there and retweet it. Send Gary Neville some messages on Twitter. Pester him on Instagram. Do whatever you can. I'd love to get him on the channel for an interview to speak about the Glazers, because we all know that Gary Neville is one of the most prevalent voices in UK sports coverage. And when it comes to punditry, people listen to a lot of what Gary Neville has to say, even if you disagree about his timing on the Glazers, the fact that we haven't really heard much of him over the years, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to be having that argument. I want Gary to come on the channel. So I'm going to focus on the positives. And him retweeting that video is a positive. So big up to you, Gary. Thank you very much for retweeting that. But hopefully you can help me get an interview with him here on United People's TV. That's what we want. Jack, what are you saying? What do you who do you think is on the brink of leaving, going to be axed or kicked out? So, Jack, I will hopefully, depending on timing and everything, I will hopefully have a video out on that this week. My sort of keep or sell list, because it's quite a big list. I mean, it's going to be a big list. It's a whole squad, but there's quite a lot of players that I believe need to leave the club, and I suppose that's kind of the issue that we're at the moment, right? Is we've got such a long list of players that we probably ideally would sell or replace this summer. It's like you can't do it all in one summer. So this is going to have to be another summer of priorities for Manchester United, of getting at least like the top 3-5 done and dusted. And we all know that Pogba's leaving. We all know that Lingard's leaving. But there's like 3 or 4 players that I think we absolutely need to be getting rid of. So I'll do that. Don't worry about that. Let's go down here. It said, let's get everyone on the show, says Callum. I will get everyone on the show, Callum, but he's busy preparing for a boxing fight, which is weird. I don't know what game. I mean, but this is the man that chews on raw chicken. So I love the bloke, but he's a bit balmy, isn't he? I mean, I've got his book there. There he is. Whee. Let's go down here and read a few more of your comments. Nkuru, you're saying, spare me, Poch, after yesterday's PSG loss to Monaco. He's lost 4 out of 6 games. Look, let me pull that up for you there. We already had that discussion at the start of the video, but 4 defeats in 6, including the Champions League exit for PSG. It really isn't going well for them at the moment. I honestly think part exchange is the way to go this summer, says Ant. Could do some major bits in that respect. Part exchange and like swap deals rarely happen in the modern game. Even on paper, if you think they make sense, they really do happen in the proper game. So I'm not sure that's going to happen. But moving on to the next conversation that we need to have. I did a video on Saturday morning. It was speaking about Old Trafford. The idea of the three choices that we have. Number one, South Stand expansion. Number two, revamping the whole stadium without expanding the South Stand. Number three, demolishing Old Trafford and building a new one. The update on that is this. Manchester United have been advised that drastic plans to build a state-of-the-art stadium on land adjacent to Old Trafford would make it the most expensive ever built in the country, which scares the crap out of me. And obviously the Glazers are doing absolutely nothing to do with Manchester United. There's Avram Glazer buying himself some sort of drink at the F1 yesterday. Saw him in his greasy. Honestly, is there a worse haircut in the world? I'm not sure. That's Bobby Charlton had a comb over, but that's like a mullet over. He's holding on to the end of a mullet. Why would you hold on to the end of a mullet? Just get rid of it. Accept that you're going to look like an evil dictator because you basically are one. Just go bald. Accept it, Avram. Stop it. You're making it worse. Making it worse. Anthony saying, what's your thoughts on Martial killing it at Sevilla? It's not what I've been reading. I've been seeing far more comments from Sevilla fans that he's not been crushing it. So maybe I'm reading the wrong ones. Puns, what are you saying here, buddy? You're saying it'll be interesting to see who stays and who goes if Ten Hag is appointed. You should do a stay-go list. Actually, the chat should respond to. Yeah, absolutely. We will do one. I'm going to be doing one of those hopefully this week, Puns. And if not this week, I'll definitely be doing one next week before our game against Leicester. Obviously, it's really important that we have that conversation about who stays and goes. But in my opinion, it's kind of a bit pointless having that conversation before we know who the manager is. Because therefore, who stays and who goes is likely to change depending on who our next manager is. Graven Birch for CDM says, Pap, Graven Birch is, as far as I know, as far as I've read anyway, he's very interested in a move to Bayern Munich. It might be a case that if Ten Hag comes, then that's a different conversation altogether. But Graven Birch, I think he's 19, is one of the players that has just burst through. And we know the academy way at Ajax. Their ability to churn is the wrong way to describe it, because churn makes it sound like they're just pumping them out. But their ability to create consistently top quality players will always put a smile on my face. Ajax is always like I've always had a soft spot for Ajax. I've always believed in their philosophy. I've always believed in their way. I always like how they've stayed true to themselves. And I also think Amsterdam is one of the best cities in the world. And Amsterdam Arena looks like an amazing stadium to watch your home games in. So, yeah, I've always had a soft spot for Ajax. So I really hope that we can nick their manager and then nick their CEO in a couple of years. I mean, not nick. Just slowly take over the next 2 years. Pat, I've seen you down in the comments. It might not just be you, but it's been saying Nunes from Sporting. I haven't watched much of Sporting, so I don't really have much to say about Nunes at this time. Maybe I will do that in the future. What about Darwin Nunes, says Jerry. He's linked. Don't know much about the player, but heard he can be next sensation. Darwin Nunes is a perfect example, right, of if Manchester United wanted to go out and sign a striker this summer, we could go out and spend 75 million on Erling Haaland, pay him $500,000 a week in wages. He would be the cream of the crop, the top of the tree. But how many of those types of signings have worked out at Manchester United? Whereas Darwin Nunes is probably on the level below, proven himself as an absolutely top draw goal scorer, not done it in the Premier League or La Liga or the Bundesliga yet. So question marks over whether he could do that. But supreme talent, obviously, and wouldn't cost anywhere near as much as Haaland. But there's nothing to say that in 12, 18 months' time, if given the right platform, that he couldn't all of a sudden be as good as Haaland. And they're the type of signings that we need to make. And what are you saying here? Just a thought on the stadium investment. A huge financial commitment to building a new stadium makes it even less attractive to potential new buyers. Part of the Glazers' plan. I don't think they'll be doing it anything. The only reason they would do something is to make more money out of it. So I wouldn't say they're trying to be underhand in stopping potential buyers coming in. The thing that scares me about all the conversation around this new stadium, in terms of a new stadium completely with Old Trafford being demolished, or in expanding the South Stand and doing that, or in just improving and revamping the whole of Old Trafford, who's paying for that? Of course, Manchester United are going to be paying for it. The Glazers aren't going to front up 600 million of their own money for a stadium. That's not what they did at the Tampa Bay either. I believe they got the local council to pay for quite a bit of that. They'll be doing anything possible to not spend a penny on that new stadium and anything to do with it. And therefore, what's going to happen? Is our debt just going to skyrocket to over $1 billion again? One way I was looking at Duncan Drasdo, obviously chairman of Must, he was saying that there could potentially, ideally, be like a share split where the equity gets reduced in the shares by the Glazers, and that's how they fund it. But that would be them effectively paying for it themselves. So don't really think that's the case. Noel, there's a good point there. Darwin Núñez knocked Ten Hag out of the Champions League. It's an excellent point. Good player. There's loads of signings that we could make this summer. You look at them and go, yep, you'd be great. But we have to get the manager in first. So I'm going to be doing that keep or sell video as soon as we've got a deal announced for a new manager. Because as soon as we've got that deal announced for the new manager, we can start looking into formations. We can start looking into tactics. We can start looking into what players inside this squad could thrive under that said manager, what players might struggle under that said manager. But I think it's kind of a bit irrelevant to have that conversation until we know who the manager is. Ian, the Tampa Bay Stadium was built by the council with a hospitality tax to cover the cost for those visiting. The Glazers threatened to move the team to a new city if they didn't get the stadium. Well, I suppose it's a little bit different there about the franchise system inside American sports. Look at the Las Vegas Raiders. A couple of years ago, they were the Oakland Raiders. Entire teams can move entire cities and they can take the name with them. Manchester United will not be leaving Manchester, so they won't be holding that over Manchester Council's head as some sort of threat. Rehab saying, Sam, what's your thoughts on Dean as our number one for the future? Hey, man, I backed Dean Henderson to be our number one this season. He got COVID. De Gea came back through. Amazing for them. I got completely distracted there by some other comments. De Gea came back through. Completely opposite of amazing for Henderson. Really unlucky for him. And De Gea has sort of established himself as our number one again. Let's see what goes on next. I'll tell you what, this is a separate point. I wanted to bring this up here. This is definitely a talking point that maybe requires a separate video. But Gary Neville tweeted this morning, right? And suffice to say, it's got a lot of engagement, a lot of debate coming off the back of it. I remember a time when United players, managers, executives wouldn't be seen in their local Italian after a draw at home, let alone get knocked out of Europe. This last week, we've seen a global tour of F1, concerts, cricket, and UFC events. This lot are tone deaf. What's your reaction and opinion on that? Gary Neville there, I mean, he's coming out all guns firing last few days against the Glazers. Now he's going against, not against the players, but he's disagreeing with the actions, I suppose, of the players. But their actions are their private lives. I mean, first of all, what I would say is you can't not expect anybody to have a social life outside of it because they've lost a game of football. That's an unrealistic expectation. But my comment was this. Let me pull my comment up here because I'll probably be able to explain it better when I've got it up on screen. Because I do agree with Gary to an extent, but it's to an extent, right? I'm not going to come here and say that Gary's absolutely 100% spot on here. And this is what I said, right? Let me pull this up. Said here, different generations and different times. Social media is the new norm. So is seeing far more of a player's private lives if they decide to share it. But Gary is right about reading the room because all of it plays a part in fans' connection with players and teams. And maybe back in the day, maybe the players care. I would definitely say that players care more about their clubs back in a few years ago. There was the stronger connection between a player and a club than there is nowadays. I don't even think you're probably going to see a one-club man starting from this generation. Obviously, there's still a Mark Noble going. Obviously, he's still there. But one-club players, I don't think they'll really exist anymore. So I understand what Gary's trying to say there and what he is saying there. And I agree with part of it. But at the same time, it's just social media is the new norm. Seeing into people's private lives is the new norm if they choose to share it with you. It's just that's changed the relationship. It's brought fans closer to players, probably closer than ever before. You know, back in the early days, if you were lucky enough to bump into the players on the bus on the way to the training ground, that was your relationship with the player, or you're pressing your ear to the radio, or reading the local newspaper. That's as close as you could get to a player. Now, you can physically talk to a player on your phone if you're lucky enough to get brought into an Instagram Live or something like that. It's very, very different. So I understand that part. But yeah, I also think that's played a part in how maybe disconnected fans can be with players, because maybe we all realize, because of how much we see on their social media, how how being part of the football club is maybe a less significant part of their life than it used to be. And of course, everyone's got their own brand now. Everybody's pushing their own existence as a brand. That too. I'm gonna read down here. It brought fans closer, but the haters are less approachable. I don't know what that word is there, Josh. You need to read your comments before you send it in, my friend. Anybody who sends in, no, I won't be banning anybody who does spelling mistakes in comments, but it doesn't help. Go down here and see what you're saying. And you're saying, I think he's spot on, but those men back then understood that the fans are the life and soul of the club, and it's important the image you portray to them. Of course, absolutely there. And yeah, as I said, I just think the players probably care a little bit. They're a little bit less connected to the club than fans would want them to be. And the ones that are, and you see that, it's reflected in how the fans' relationship is with them. The fans feel closer to them. The fans will support them more and longer. That's probably why Rashford's come through all of this. And he's still got a lot of support among United fans. If it wasn't Rashford, if it was someone else that didn't have as much connection to the fans and was performing the way he is, probably getting a lot more stick. What are we going down here? Players get paid 100k to 350k a week, whether they play good or not. So they are not bothered if they don't win or not. I mean, I'm not sure you can have. You probably got win bonuses, but I'm not sure you can have 40% reduction in your wages if you lose this week, where it's a team game and a player might play great. I understand that. Look, I'm starting to get distracted down here in the comments. Didn't Fergie dislike and try to minimize the celebrity side of Beckham's football side? Mate, that was a huge reason why Beckham left, man. Fergie hated. I remember when he walked in with curtains and Fergie told him to shave it off. Fergie knew the dangers of that. And Fergie got out of the game at the perfect time for Fergie to get out of the game. He would hate. And he does hate, probably, everything that's happened with football since he left football. Because it's probably since around that 2013, roughly, was when it started to really surge. We only, as a football club, Manchester United didn't start a Twitter account. I always remember that. We didn't start a Twitter account until Fergie left. We weren't even on social media there, on Twitter, until Fergie left. Probably because he blocked it and stopped it. But the way football's gone, it's just changed, eh? Just absolutely changed. But look, let's wrap it up for today, and I can start preparing this Ten Hag, this big video I'm doing. But the main story is this. The Manchester United are wanting to get a deal done for our new manager by the end of March. That's 10 days' time. Who will that be? Either Pochettino or Ten Hag. And I swear to God, if it's anybody else, it's going to be a massive surprise to me. And I'm sure it'll be a massive surprise to you as well. I think it's going to be Ten Hag or Poch. I don't know which of those it's going to be. If you're looking at separate reports, Ten Hag's got admirers in United's hierarchy, relatively low release clause, but Poch will probably be sacked by PSG anyway. And Poch, suggestions that he's the chosen candidate of the dressing room. A little note on that. Don't give a shit what the dressing room thinks. I could not give a single crap about what any player, Ronaldo, whole way down to Henderson, Delo, none of them. I don't care what any of them think about our new manager. It's irrelevant. All right? Absolutely irrelevant. That's what I think anyway. That's what I think. So Poch, apparently he's got admirers there in the boardroom, admired by Fergie. We know he's admired by Fergie. He was always admired by Fergie. It is what it is. I don't think any of them should be involved in the decision-making process. It should just be about Ralph Rangnick consulting the club and getting it done. But hopefully, within the next 10 days, I'm here with an announcement video after a deal has been agreed. Fingers crossed it's Ten Hag. As you know, as I know, it's all opinion really when it comes to Ten Hag and Poch. Both of them very good managers in their own right. Both of them have positives and negatives. Both have pros and cons from their career to date. I don't really know who it's going to be yet, though. But I hope it's going to be Ten Hag. But look, as I said, I'll wrap that up for today. Thank you very much, Puns, for your super chats. Thank you very much, everybody else, for joining in and supporting the channel. If you would, please consider supporting the channel now. If you haven't already, drop a like on the video and subscribe to United People's TV. Trust me, because this week there's going to be some cracking content. I pride myself on those longer, more research videos, and these two are going to be big ones. So I'm going to get started on it straight away. Might take me a while. I'll see when I can get it out later today, though. But big up to everybody for joining in. Thank you very much for all of your comments and engaging. I'll be here at 9:30 tomorrow morning, or maybe later today after we announce a deal for Ten Hag. I don't know.